Well, it's Saturday, the 1st of February, and the final meteorological month. We've got certainly plenty of winter weather across parts of Europe. This was the scene yesterday, captured in the Dolomite region of the Italian Alps, when Mediterranean moisture meets Siberian air over the Alpine region. Of course, with the influence of the upslope, we've got scenes like this here. Snowfall in excess of 27 to 30 inches over the course of a 24-hour period brought plenty of ski resorts in the Italian and the Austrian Alps to its knees. And this was the scene out of Austria. Some sources say that it was a 50 to 100 year snowfall, and just incredible stuff. So while we've seen massive snowfall over parts of the Alpine region, it is cold over eastern parts of Europe. This was the scene at rush hour last night in Moscow. You can see all the steam coming off the chimneys here, indicating a very cold air mass in place. On Thursday morning, the temperature dropped to 27 below, or minus 26 in fact, and that was the coldest of the winter so far in Moscow. But certainly the cold air is expected at this time of year over eastern parts of Europe. But you draw that Siberian air mass over central and particularly western parts of Europe, and that air is considerably moderated because there's less snow on the ground over Germany, and particularly so once you get in towards the Netherlands, Belgium. We've got some snow up around Denmark, and of course up into southern parts of Scandinavia. What I want to show you though is this was the scene at 3:30 this morning in my house here in Lennoxtown, central Scotland. We had wind and a temperature drop of about 4 or 5 degrees in the space of about roughly 40 minutes, changing wind blown rain to snow. And the reason for that is we had a frontal system pushing through, but this is associated with the very system that brought the snow and the ice to the southern half of the United States. This was the satellite image captured by Stu Ostro of the Weather Channel. And you can see here the system. You can actually still see the snow on the ground over the southeastern half of the United States. That system crossed out into the Atlantic, and you can see here it significantly intensified as it crossed the Atlantic Ocean. A vast plume of moisture extending from the Gulf of Mexico right across the Atlantic, and feeding this very, very tightly wound, impressive area of low pressure. Estimations of around 950 in millibars of central pressure. That very air mass allowed the cold air that was over the United States to cross the Atlantic, and because it was more of a southern tract system, it crossed over. If you look at the sea surface temperature anomalies over the Atlantic, we've got warm, cold, warm. This feature dragged that cold air over the coldest waters of the Atlantic, so it moderated it slightly. And this was something I was telling my subscribers some 5 days ago. Watch out, because the Atlantic weather, the actual features that are coming in off the Atlantic, you would expect them to be containing milder air, but in fact we need to watch the source region. Very cold North America. This was a system that formed on an Arctic boundary, crossed the Atlantic and the coldest waters over the North Atlantic, and I was expecting there to be possible low level snow with this feature. And in fact, that did actually happen. I thought there would be a bigger chance of seeing low level snow with an Atlantic system that had Arctic origins than actually the easterly flow that we had on Thursday, that would typically bring a bigger chance of seeing snow. So a very interesting meteorological situation here, that we don't often see snowfall with a southwesterly wind, and that was the case. Even though it was a very short-lived event, the temperature did gradually warm up. We did see that snow down at low levels change quickly over to rainfall again, but a very, very interesting scenario, and this may not be the last in the next week to 10 days where we see this type of example here, where the Atlantic weather system with Arctic origin produces snow. Um, this was, like I say, this was the feature here that crossed out over the Atlantic and brought flooding conditions that continues today. Terrible scenes out of Limerick this morning with a car under the water. Check that out, my Twitter page at Mark Vogan, if you haven't already done so. This was the scene also captured yesterday. So there's the UK here. A closer look at this area of low pressure. Very tightly wound. Very impressive satellite presentation. Very cold air. And this section right here, folks, is, you can see here, these kind of higher patches of cloud in the upper levels of the atmosphere, as opposed to this plume of moisture here. This is what's bringing all that very heavy rainfall, because it's crossing over somewhat warmer ocean water, so it's pulling that moisture up and then it's dropping it over the UK and Ireland as well. But it's this piece of energy here that's actually colder, and what that's doing is that's feeding into this circulation, and it's producing a colder layer over the UK and producing snowfall, especially across parts of Northern Ireland and across parts of Scotland as well. But now that we're seeing more Atlantic moisture and Atlantic air feeding into it, we're seeing those temperatures warm up considerably. 850 temperatures. This is a 0-100 hour chart, and you can see here the very situation I'm talking about. Colder. This is North America. Here's the UK and Ireland, and this is Europe overall here. Well, not quite there, but you can see what I mean. You can see here the very, very cold air that's getting fed over and off North America, getting dragged across the Atlantic with these areas of low pressure. And you can see here with the 850 temperature, the temperature profile here. There's that area of low pressure right here. Mild air getting drawn in, but over the top of it, you can see that colder air coming in. So it's getting fed in here, but the milder air is winning out somewhat. As we push through to this is the 500 millibar chart. You can see here there's your 950 millibar low to the northwest or due west of the UK, drawing in that milder air, but there is colder air coming in underneath or over the top. As we skip through to 48 hours here, we'll see a moderation in temperature, but what I want you to pay attention to is there's another area of low pressure that's currently snowing over Chicago and Detroit. That will exit the east coast of North America, and that will be another system that's going to drag very cold air off the continent, across the Atlantic. It is going to moderate somewhat. There's no question about that when you've got a 2,000 mile stretch of ocean, but it may be another area of low pressure that tries to bring snow down to lower levels across the northern half of the UK. So slight warm surge out ahead of the system. Then as the cold front pushes through, temperatures drop once again. Might see some snow again, to the most unlikely, the wind direction, a south to southwesterly wind once again. There's the cold coming back across the Atlantic again. We'll remain in the cooler air. The jet stream is further south, but we've got modified air in place. By the time we skip out to 144 here, you can see that cold air trying to march across the Atlantic, and by 192, so this is by next weekend, you've got another tongue of 850 temperatures of -10 and -15, area of low pressure in the milder air here to the north of the UK. Watch out, very strong west to northwesterly winds. They will veer more southwesterly, but the temperature could drop unexpectedly. You might see more traces of snow even down towards lower levels. And I was also saying this to my subscribers, very similar snowpack across Eurasia as this time last year, the same time frame here. But the big difference is around this time last year, the UK was largely snow covered. This time around, it hasn't been. But over the past 48 hours, we've seen more snow, particularly across higher ground. But the air that's coming in off Siberia, 1056 millibar high over northwestern parts of Russia. Of course, the area of low pressure down over Italy, which is of course here. You draw that colder south, very dry colder, moisture getting pulled up from the Mediterranean basin. There's your big snow, because we're starting to see the convergence over the Alpine region. But the air continues to cross Europe, and as it starts to pick up the bare ground, it loses its intensity. So that easterly flow on Thursday wasn't particularly cold, because we don't have the snow in the ground over the Netherlands and Belgium to really retain that air mass. But it's incredible how we're seeing cold air getting drawn all the way across the Atlantic and it's producing snow to low levels, yet that easterly wind can't do the same thing, even if we've got the moisture. So something very much worth paying attention to. I've been trying to show my subscribers here that the biggest chance of seeing snow this year really could be from the west and southwest as opposed to the east. And I've explained the fact that the reason why this winter has not materialized is because the NAO has been either neutral, if not positive. We didn't get that negative NAO, which I expected, so therefore the Atlantic has been the dominant aspect throughout the course of this winter. It'll be interesting to see what happens upcoming month of February, which of course we're now in, and it will be very, very interesting to see what happens there. There is no long range indication to suggest that we're going to go into a negative NAO, so it looks as if there's no significant change in the upcoming week to 10 days, that's for sure. But hope you can give markvoganweather.com a try. I appreciate you watching this and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye for now.